Most definitely. So I really brought you here to talk March Madness. We went
Yeah.
off on a tangent. I mean, we always go off on tangents. That's what we do, but they're entertaining tangents.
Yes.
So my favorite part of March Madness,
Hmm.
and you might totally disagree with me, is the beginning stages of it. Is when there's a bunch of games on. I know we crown a champion at the end, but I just love that part of it when there's so many games on, differing styles, teams that aren't familiar with each other. To me, it feels like blood sport, right? You got all of these crazy personalities, differing styles, teams aren't familiar, and everything going on at the same time. And then you get great stories like FDU in the mix, right? And like FAU, obviously, we could still talk about them because they're still here. But I just love that part of March Madness, maybe even more than the Final Four. That's just me. I know we crowned a champion in the Final Four, but I just love that part of it.
No, I agree. I'm on the same page with you. It's nothing better than when March Madness first starts and the games start at 10 or 11 and they just going on till about 8, 9, or 10 at night. I do think that that's the best. It's kind of like the NFL playoffs, or it's like any playoffs where in basketball, when the first round starts in the play-in, we have a slate of games versus when there's the Eastern Conference
Yes.
Finals. It's one game per day versus getting four, games in a day. Any basketball fan is going to love, the more you can get, or any sporting fan when there's football and you have, four games on versus just the Super Bowl where it's just that one game and you wait all day for this moment leading up to it. So no, I agree with you. I'm like you. I understand the Final Four, the magnitude. It's exciting. You got to crown a champion. But when you have, a slate of a Tuesday, and that's what's March Madness is too, where it's just like a Monday or Tuesday, and there's legitimately 7 or 8 games going to be played throughout the whole day. Some teams you'll be familiar with, some teams will have NBA prospects, some teams will have future NBA prospects, some teams you won't be familiar with, some teams have, new coaches, young coaches, coaches who are Hall of Famers and you heard of. There's so many different things and elements that's thrown all together. So I think that's the more exciting thing. And now that we have this conversation, I think I remember what you're talking about in the beginning. Yeah, I was talking about March Madness, man. People trying to talk down on college basketball, and I'm just not for it. You know what I mean? I don't care who you are. People going around saying that they don't watch college basketball. That's fine. People can watch what they want to watch. But if you don't watch college basketball, I think it's very foolish and ignorant for you to speak on it. And
100%, bro.
sometimes,
I hear people literally saying that they haven't watched it and it's terrible.
yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I was talking about recently on Twitter was, they had a thing saying it's March overrated, like it's March Madness overrated, and in it was a De'Aaron Fox quote. And I've been having this conversation on my podcast for years now because my co-hosts, they aren't vivid college basketball watchers, and I've been trying to, get them to get more and more involved because I think it's good, and it's also the future stars of the league are in college, some of them. Um, but yeah, I see, guys always saying they don't watch, but they have so many different opinions. And if you don't watch, hey, I'll make one thing clear. I don't care what anybody's doing. I don't lose sleep because nobody's watching college basketball. But if there's a conversation, a dialogue as somebody who watches college basketball, I'll dive in and give my 2 cents. But yeah, I just think it's foolish to say I don't watch college basketball, but then you have criticism for it. And then some of the criticism to me is kind of mind blowing. I don't watch college basketball because the shot making isn't like the NBA. Well, duh. Who turns on college basketball and think they're going to get Kevin Durant type performances or Kyrie Irving type performances? Like, are you kidding me? You're not watching because they aren't playing like LeBron James? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. And to me, that shows the difference between a basketball lover and an
Yeah.
NBA lover. And I think those are two different things that people don't want to accept. But if all you watch and all you cater to or all you gravitate to is NBA, to me, you love the NBA. A basketball lover can watch a high school game. They can watch the NBA. They can watch college.
They might even watch two dudes playing in the park and be like, what's
You know
going
what I
on
mean?
there?
And I understand it. I don't want to get too crazy. I understand there's certain levels that,
Right.
can be some bad basketball and, lower youth level basketball. Of course, babies out there playing, but they don't know anything. They're just out there having fun and learning. But like, I love basketball so much, I can just watch a basketball game and it doesn't have to be a pro or pro prospect or whatever. I watch EJ games and it's not always some highly recruited player in those matchups, but it's like, oh, this team is running a 3-2 zone extended. This is interesting, and just those type of things.
Yeah, the lack of skill thing, I don't even agree with. First of all, like it's good to watch every kind of basketball because it makes you appreciate the guys that you were saying, how great they really are. If you're just only watching them, it's a little bit harder to appreciate. The lack of skill thing, I do not agree with. Obviously, as you said, the skill level is not the same as the NBA, but I do think part of it is that it's the adrenaline. When adrenaline is pumping that high, it's a little bit more about will than skill, and the skills might not show quite as much at the college level when it's one game elimination. Like if you made the game one game elimination in the NBA, you might not see the creative shot making that you would see in a regular season game when it don't matter as much.
That's true. I mean, we do have the play-in, and a lot of the elite level players probably won't play in the play. I mean, we might have a Luka or something, but yeah, the Kevin Durant's and whatnot. Well, actually, we might have
Luka LeBron might happen, right?
Luka LeBron might actually be in there. So yeah, LeBron and Steph has been in the play-in. But I mean, it's just tough. I think anytime you compare something to the NBA and the best of the best, the Kevin Durant's, the all-time greats, it's just silly to me to expect that. And then I disagree because they talk about the shot making. You know, when you talk about March Madness, some of the toughest, most important, clutchest moments and shots go down in those games. You know, when you look at Furman beating Virginia, Kihei Clark throwing that ball and Furman getting it, and that guy hitting that big time three to give them the lead. That's high quality, tough shot making with the pressure on you. That's high level shot making.
You talk about that. You talk about that deep one,
the one that won them the game. Kihei Clark from Virginia gets it. He throws it thinking the clock is going to run out. Furman.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Man.
That wins the game. That's tough shot making. Now, was that guy doing that for the last 7 minutes of the game like a Kevin Durant would do, where Kevin can give you 14 points in the last 6 minutes of a fourth quarter? No. But when everything is on the line and it's a win or go home and it's the last shot of the game, and this guy makes it, to me, that's high-level shots. And you see that throughout the course of college basketball in March Madness. So at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to like what they want to like, and that's not my problem. I'm not saying people have to watch college basketball. I only go out and defend college basketball when people go out of their way to ignorantly dismiss it for the NBA. And it's also kind of backwards to me because majority of the guys who are in the NBA doing a thing, they came or are going to come from college basketball. You look at the next young stars of Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Franz Wagner, Paolo. All of these guys have come from college basketball, and college basketball is going to be the biggest pool for our league as it's always been. You're going to have some G League, you're going to have international, but majority of our talent in our league is made up of guys who are going to come from college. That's just a fact. And a lot of the superstar players, the guys who are going to help y'all win championships are going to be guys that are coming from college. You know what I mean? So that's just my spiel. You don't have to like college basketball, but don't go out of your way to dismiss it or discredit it if you don't watch it. If you watch it and you're saying you don't like it, then that's a whole different conversation. But if you tell me, oh, yeah, I don't watch college basketball because of blank, 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 you can't say it because you don't watch it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, this Final Four is interesting right here. So Florida Atlantic or San Diego will be playing for a national championship, which is kind of crazy. Is there a perfect bracket out there? Probably not at this point, right? No. UConn, in my opinion, is definitely the favorite. Would you say it's there to lose, or it's more up for grabs with all four of these teams?
The way that they've played in the tournament is theirs to lose, because I think they've beat every team so far by at least 15. So when you have that big of a margin in terms of winning this late in the tournament, I think there's a lot of expectation, but I also don't want to overly put expectations on UConn, because at the end of the day, they're still a 4 seed. They weren't highly picked. They weren't favorited at all. They just pick like UConn does. They're just getting hot at the right time, and they're playing really, really good basketball. But as far as these 4 teams, I think they would be the favorite, but I just don't want to put too much pressure on them to sit up here and pretend that UConn was supposed to be here. They're just like the other teams here, where I don't think a lot of teams had them coming as far. A lot of people did pick UConn, but not that many. I think if we had Alabama here, if we had a Houston here,
Arkansas,
I don't know. Arkansas was a 9 seed who kind of was up and down. If
I
Arkansas,
think
if Arkansas
talent level is good.
if they made it this far, I would have been surprised. I didn't have Arkansas, nowhere near the Final Four. Um, I did have Florida Atlantic beating Memphis in the first round, so I'm not surprised that
Maybe
they
maybe Purdue or Gonzaga. I think people would have them in there, right? That team,
Gonzaga. Yeah,
yeah,
Purdue I wasn't a fan of,
because
but
they keep getting upset. Is that why you weren't a fan?
I just don't like the way that they play. I'm just not a Purdue fan. I
Yeah,
I watched a lot of Big Ten basketball, and it was a lot of games where, I thought that they should have really been able to destroy their opponent, and they didn't. And I think Zach Edey, for him to be who he is in the size, and he did have a great season. I just felt like he wasn't as dominant as you would have thought, and sure enough, that got exposed. So
yeah. Florida Atlantic, San Diego State. In my opinion, the best storyline of this tournament has been Florida Atlantic. I like to think of them as a very modern basketball team. Not a lot of people talk about this, but they're very analytically driven, shoot a lot of threes, dunks, free throws. Combine that with toughness and malleability. Like they could play fast, they could play slow. What do you feel like they have to do to beat this defensive-minded San Diego State team?
keep playing that game. I'm obsessed with their offense. The 4-out win in with the big fella. That's what made me pick them for the upset in the first round. I never in a million years, even when I picked them then, thought that they would be a Final Four team. But I think they got to continue to with the shot making, continue to play free. I think a lot of teams get this far and they kind of get a little timid. But you gotta hoop, man. The same shots you were taking in the first round where you felt like you had nothing to lose should be the same shots you taking in the Final Four with the same mindset. You just got nothing to lose. I feel like when teams tense up and they try to get away from their play style to be a little bit more precautious, I feel like then you start to lose yourself. But if you're for instance, if you're a fast-paced team, you should always play fast. You can't all of a sudden want to dial it back now because it's the Final Four and we don't want to turn over the ball. You got to be who you've been this entire season. You know what I mean? And I love their guard play. I really like the Jonell Davis guy. I think he has some incredible shot making, especially from the mid range. And I think they have a chance. When you've made it this far against some of the teams that they've beat, you got to have the confidence that you can beat anybody. San Diego State is a tough matchup and a tough team because they're going to get after it. They're a little grimy and gritty, and I like that about them. But Florida Atlantic has proven to themselves that they can beat literally anybody.
What do you think the keys are for San Diego State?
Yeah, it's to rough them up. I think if you can rough them up, dominate the rebounding, I think you have it. Florida Atlantic, they rebound the ball pretty well, but I think you definitely have to make them slow the game down, because they want to play fast, they want to get in transition, they want to shoot the threes, and yeah, just speed them up. I mean, slow them down, or speed them up and make them turn it over. Turnovers and rebounds to me is always going to be the key to the game. However you can do it, but I think if you allow Florida Atlantic to play with the proper pace, they're gonna make you pay, man. They gonna get out in transition. They're gonna hit threes. I forget his name, but the number 15 kid, he is deadly. He'll take some wild ones, but he'll make the wild ones too.
I do think if there is a blowout in this game, there's more of a chance it will be FAU. And if there's a grinded out game, I think like either team could probably win it. I don't see like San Diego State blowing them out, and I don't see Florida Atlantic like disappearing, like from what I've seen so far.
No. I think this should be a very close game. I really do think this should be a very close game, maybe somewhere in the 50s, 57 to 53 type game. San Diego State has been good all year, man. They've been good. So I can't count them out now. FAU has been doing their thing. So I think it's a slug match, and it could get grimy. Both teams are gonna come play hard. We know that for sure. So I think this may be a dogfight. I think this may be a very entertaining dogfight.
I equate Miami to the NWO. Let me tell you why. They just got some money. They know about NIL. They know how to use it. I think NIL is part of the reason why we're seeing some of these teams who might not be blue bloods playing in the Final Four. And there's parity in NCAA basketball, and there's more parity in the NBA. You could say it's good for the game. You could say it's bad for the game. That's up for you to determine. But I just love what they did down there. And then they got 5 guys that could beat you. I think they're one of the most dangerous teams in this Final Four.
I do too, and I'm a big fan of them just because of Coach Larinaga. I've been a big Jim Larinaga fan since I was a kid, seeing what he did at George Mason, and now Miami is rocking and rolling. Yeah, the NIL stuff is crazy with Nigel Pack and the money he got and everything. That was interesting to see and find out about, and I think that is something to look forward to as we go forward, because you see a team like North Carolina come in as the number one consensus team, and they don't even make the tournament. And then you got teams like you said out of nowhere come in, and now they're playing in the Final Four. And there's the transfer portal is popping off right now. And teams are getting after right once they got bounced. You're able to go out there and figure out your next plans. And we seeing Caleb Love in the transfer portal. Khalil Ware, who was a guy that people thought would go to the draft, is in the transfer portal. Things are happening as we speak right now. So teams are bringing in top recruits. It's kind of like the NBA, where you can bring in a 5-star McDonald All-American. You can go grab you a veteran out of the transfer portal. You could have some youth, some experience, and you can have you a well-balanced team in one summer and come back as a team who didn't do anything last year. And now all of a sudden you have a team that's going to make a Final Four push. I think that's kind of exciting, because you don't want it to get like football. College football is kind of like when it's Alabama or Georgia.
100%.
Yeah, so I kind of like it to see a Miami and Jim Larinaga, to see UConn. It's dope. It's dope. But I like good coaching as well, and it's going to be a lot of good coaching in this Final Four.
Most definitely. UConn, do you look at, I mean, the narrative is there's no blue bloods, but I feel like teams like UConn and Villanova are kind of like borderline blue bloods. Where do you land on that when it comes to UConn?
Yeah, I think they are borderline. And if not blue blood, they just got tremendous
Tradition.
Like they are, let's see, was it like 20 years ago when we talk about Emeka Okafor, Ben Gordon, Rudy Gay,
Yeah,
Charlie Villanueva, Marcus Williams, Hilton Armstrong, you know what I mean? Jerome Dyson. We're not. I still haven't even gotten to Kimball Walker, Shabazz Napier, Jeremy Lamb.
Oh, before that, Khalid El-Amin.
Oh yes, yeah, he was at one of EJ's tournaments.
Okay, he was tough.
Yeah,
tough college guard. Yeah.
So like they just have really good tradition, but yeah, they may not be blue bloods, but they respect it like the blue bloods. They're respected like the blue bloods.
Yes, them or the field.
I'm gonna go with them just because Coach Hurley got them hooping. I think they have a good balanced team. They have the shot making with Hawkins. I think Andre Jackson defensively is a menace, and he could just fly around everywhere. They got the big fella Senegal in the middle, and they rocking and they rolling. They hitting on all cylinders. Like I said, in every game so far in the tournament, they've won by at least 15 points. And that's very impressive when you've seen so many grinded out games and games come down to the wire. This is going to be a tough matchup in Miami, because Miami is as confident as ever, and they've got a lot too. But I think if they get past Florida, I don't see either other team on the other side being able to keep up with them at all. We may have a boring championship game.
Between?
Hypothetically speaking, let's say UConn wins and let's say FAU wins. I think UConn might beat the brakes off of FAU.
How would you rank the four? I think we're in agreement. UConn would be one. I have to say, for me, it'd be Miami too. Like, I feel like if they go Final Four,
I got
they'll
FAU
win it all.
3.
I'm with you, bro. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. All right, you mentioned Jordan Hawkins. Since we're in agreement, there's nothing to really talk about. You mentioned Jordan Hawkins. I believe, like, if you're thinking NBA draft this late, whether you're an NBA decision maker or a media guy who likes to talk about the draft on podcasts, it's a little too late, right? I know March Madness bump is real, but is he one of those guys that you feel helped himself the most in March?
I guess so, because he's the only top guy that's still left. So maybe, but I said that to Corey and Rucker. I was on their show Was that yesterday? 2
I
days
saw the
ago.
clip. I think I retweeted it.
Oh, okay. Appreciate it. But yeah, I was just I don't think that, I don't believe in like a March Madness thing. I think it just
Wait. You don't believe. Now, we would be in a big disagreement if you don't believe that NBA decision makers
I don't.
don't take March too serious.
No. It's it's
Wow.
6 games.
No, I know
Name
they
me
should.
one prospect who was a 20 guy and he had a good run and became a top 5 pick.
Let me think on that first. But I would agree that the way you're thinking should be the way. I just do think there is March Madness bump,
Well,
and I think
tell me somebody who's jumped up from it.
who's jumped up. I feel like in the top 5, they bump people up like from 5 to 2 or something. Orlando Magic Suggs, he was bumped up.
I don't think he was bumped up.
But they were from that half court shot that didn't bump him up when he hit that off the backboard.
No, we had people conversating should he be the number 1 pick, but we saw on draft day he was far from the number 1 pick. I think that's just conversation that you see on Twitter, but I know GM.
Well, I did say media people and NBA decision makers. It's too late.
But even when it came down to it, nobody had him mocked up as their number 1 pick. It was just a conversation because he made one shot, but then the very next game, they got their ass handled against Baylor and it got blowed out, and nobody gave a damn anymore.
So you think that
I'm just waiting for you to tell me one prospect who had a significant jump in their draft spot based off the tournament.
I think it can.
Corey gave me one answer over the last, and that was a long time ago. It was a great answer, but it was a very long time ago. And since then, I posed the same question to them.
I think it could happen with Jordan Hawkins this year.
Well, where's he gonna go? How high do you think this puts him? You think the top 5 guy now?
No.
Okay,
not top 5, but I think he started borderline first, second round in the beginning of this, and I think he could go lottery now.
I think he was a legitimate, always a first round pick this entire season. He's never been a second round guy.
Where in the first round?
20s to late teens.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't have him late teens. I would say like lower 20s towards 30. And
no. Throughout the year, I thought you meant like where he was before the tournament. Throughout when the year first came in, I would say he was in the 20s, early 20s. And I think as the season went on with the shot making,
you're saying it's gradual. You're saying it's
lottery.
Gradual.
And now, when I was talking to Corey was saying some teams could look at the top 10. But even then, it's just like he was already right there at the teens. And that's just a conversation. Is he really going to go top 10? Let's name prospects, and you tell me if you think he'll go above them. I'm not going to disrespect you and ask you Scoot or Vic because I know you're going to say them. I'll let you save your breath. I think you'll still take Brandon Miller.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's get – are you taking the Thompson twins or Jordan Hawkins?
Thompson twins.
So that's 5. Are you taking Jarris Walker or –
Jarris Walker.
Are you taking Anthony Black or Jordan Hawkins?
Anthony Black.
Are you taking Keontae George or Jordan Hawkins?
Keontae George.
Nick Smith or Jordan Hawkins?
Now that's a conversation.
Okay. What about what's the kid? Jett Howard or Jordan Hawkins?
Jett Howard.
And I feel like I'm forgetting. Cam Whitmore.
Yeah, you got to take Cam because of the potential there. You have
so
to.
Now, realistically, outside of the conversation of him, he's going up. That's 10 guys who I think we both would say a lot of teams would probably push to. Now, I still think Jordan Hawkins going anywhere near the lottery is still a win for him. Don't get me wrong; he's definitely going up, but I don't think the tournament has him going in any direction he couldn't. That's what I told on the No Ceilings podcast. It's like, can the tournament help? Yes. My argument is it doesn't change anything that out of the world. It's like, if you have a 6-game stretch in a tournament where you're playing good, of course your arrow is going to go up. But I just don't think a lot of guys, like if there's like I don't see a lot of guys where they're projected to be the 13th guy, and then all of a sudden we're talking about them being a top 5 guy because of a tournament run, or a guy who was like Suggs, always was viewed as a top 10 guy, all of a sudden is the number 1 pick. The one answer I'll tell you what Corey said, and I don't know if you remember this a long time ago, but it's very accurate. Tyrus Thomas had a jump.
Oh, yeah.
With the run, exactly. You know what I mean? That's the only one we could really think of. and I don't want to discredit it because, again, I want to be very clear. Can it help? Yes. My argument is, how much does it help? Have we seen a guy really, really, really just shoot out of this world because of a 6-game sample size? And I even posed a question from the opposite perspective, because they said, do you have any worries about Brandon Miller because of his tournament performance? And I was like, no.
Of course not.
Right. Yeah, it's just a few games. Like, that's how people think. You don't dictate a player's overall profile because of the tournament, whether it's good or bad. If a guy struggles, it's like, okay, we're going to write some notes down. We're going to take it into consideration. We're going to use it as a part of our assessment. But I'm not taking Brandon Miller from a top 3 guy to now he's 11th because he struggled in the tournament. And I'm not taking a guy who was 11th and I'm putting him number 3 because he has 6 good games. I'm going to make notes of it, and I'm going to use it for my assessment for more information to, view these guys. But it's not that big of a thing to where it's like, hold on now, Jordan Hawk is doing his thing. He could be a top 5. Like, it would be too, you want to see a full body sample size.
All right, let's end with this real quick.
What would be the best team for him? And your
Jordan Hawkins?
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of like him next to LaMelo, but okay. The Hornets are going to be too high, right? I think Hornets are going to get a.
You're right. Yeah, they'll be too high.
I like that though. I think he's a good fit there. He's a 2 guard.
What about Orlando?
Yeah, they need shooting. They need shooting.
They'll probably they have a chance to have multiple picks because of the Bulls and so.
All right, so we talked about this, and we're going to do this real quick. We talked about this last time, and I said, is there a chance that Brandon Miller in March, talking about we're back to March Madness, unfortunately. Did it ever become a conversation in your head between Brandon Miller and Scoot?
Yes.
I was right, P. I told you this would happen.
What was that conversation?
You were like, I was like, Brandon Miller, I believe. Maybe I didn't say I believe, but I just asked the question. I didn't say I believe there, but I did believe. Could this become a conversation with him and Scoot? You were like, nah.
No, I still feel nah. The only reason I say it became a conversation because it was a matter of who picks 2, which is what I think I said back then. But okay. As far as prospect to prospect, I still think it's Scoot. But when people started having a conversation of like, if it's Detroit, that's why I was kind of like, what would they do? I'm not, and I never fully said you go Brandon Miller, but all you asked was, is it a conversation? And I won't lie, when the Pistons got brought up as a team that could potentially get 2, I did think about it. I did. I'm not gonna lie to you to make my point.
I love that, P. Cade Cunningham, Brandon Miller, Sadiq Bey.
Sadiq Bey plays for Atlanta.
Oh, my fault.
Jaden Ivey.
There you go. Ivey.
Yeah, like when that situation again, and that to me,
Jalen Duren. He's gonna be good.
Yeah, but they gotta play him. They're giving his minutes to Wiseman right now.
And Wiseman, Wiseman's a nice fit there. Actually, like the idea of Wiseman's a great fit with them.
I like Duren better, but that's just me.
The idea of Wiseman.
But yeah, that makes me think prospect to prospect. I still think out of respect, because I think Scoot is a really good prospect, and I think Brandon Miller has some limitations a little bit.
Okay.
He ain't Kevin Durant. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And I like guys who can shoot it, and I like guys who can shoot it with his size. I like Brandon Miller a lot, but to me,
it's a high ceiling, high floor thing with him. Like, that's why I like Brandon Miller.
Okay.
I don't see him like, he's not going to be bad, and the best possible version of him is going to be really good.
Exactly. And if you have like Cade Cunningham and Ivy already there, and he can feed off of them and catch and shoot opportunities with that type of group, man, sign me up for it. And that's where I think it becomes a conversation. Prospect to prospect, I think Scoot has solidified itself. I think people are a little bored with it because it's just been Vic and Scoot, and now they're trying to figure out.
And you can't say anything about Wemby, so let's go to Scoot, right?
Yeah, let's just make it some type of excitement, and let's try to.
They tried to do it with Cade, bro. They tried to do it with Cade.
Yes, they did.
They tried to do it with Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
it is what it's. P, great stuff. You're always welcome back on the show. It's always great talking basketball with you, bro. Talk soon.
It is. Holla at you.
Later.